Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council. And on Designing Your Life today, I want to talk about getting beyond the fear of selling. So this is still a part of our summer success series, but on Thursdays, we talk about business. So with that being said, one of the most important things you can learn to do when it comes to your business is learning to sell. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't really have to sell, I can just put my product on Amazon and describe it a little bit and people will purchase that product. Well, that may be true, but part of selling is learning your product, understanding your product, but also understanding your customer and understanding their needs. Now, on the other hand, if you have to sell your product either through a webinar or you have to sell it face to face, if you're in a service-oriented business where you are constantly having to connect with people and get new clients and maintain those clients, and also in some cases upsell those clients, I think you'll find today's podcast very beneficial. When it comes to asking people to purchase, a lot of times people who are in business, they often say, I hate selling. I don't like asking people to buy things. I don't like asking people for things. Well, let me tell you something. If you have to actually bring yourself to ask someone to sell something, which is what I had to do quite often in real estate. And if you're in real estate and you're listening to this, then you'll understand, because no matter what, you still have to make a connection with that customer to get them to make a sale. Now, selling is not about manipulating your customer. And so we're going to talk about selling so you can get a better understanding of what selling is all about. And I think this will help you be, well, let's say less terrified. So if your stomach tightens at the thought of asking for a sale or even thinking about selling, or if you are one of those people who say, you know what, I need to avoid conversations because I don't like it when people tell me no, then you know what, then you're not alone. If you secretly hope people just buy without you having to say anything, then you are absolutely not alone. Most of us who are in business, we can find selling a little bit intimidating. Now, I've been in business for more than 24 years. And when I was in real estate, I was a top producing realtor. And so I sold a lot of properties, 998 houses to be exact, which means I had to interact with a lot of different personalities, a lot. And so with that being said, was I intimidated? I'm going to say not really. Not really when I was face to face with a person, but getting to the sale, getting to the point where I could actually connect with the customer. Yeah, that was a little bit intimidating for me. And of course, in real estate, there was a lot of cold calling involved. And before it got to the warm calling part, because I had to build my business from scratch. I was brand new in Jacksonville, Florida, where I live now. And I did not know anyone. So I actually built that business from the ground up without knowing anyone at all. And so with that being said, if I can do that, you guys can do it also. And over the years, I have become what I'd like to call myself a master salesperson, but I've worked to master sales. Not so much because I want to be able to, let's say, outsell someone else. I don't even think about that, but I want to be able to give the best service possible. Now, let's talk some more about selling and getting beyond the fear of selling. Selling, it can feel intimidating, but just because you're afraid, that doesn't mean you're not called to succeed. And it doesn't mean that you're not called to be in sales. It simply means that you haven't learned, let's say, the right way to sell your product or service, or you don't have a clear understanding of what sales is about. I talk about identity a lot on this podcast. And when it comes to your business, you have to kind of add sales to your identity. You have to be a salesperson when it calls for you to do that. Not one of those salespeople like you see, I guess, in a comedy where they're aggravating the customer and trying to manipulate the customer. That's just called bad salesmanship. So with that being said, let's dive into this and find out a little bit about selling so you can actually get beyond the fear of selling. Okay, so let's talk about why selling feels scary to begin with. Now, let's be honest. Most people really aren't afraid of selling because if you think about it, you've been selling your whole life. As a kid, when a kid wants cookies, they give their parents the script. Okay, can I have 3 cookies? No. Okay, how about 2? All right, if you give me 1 cookie, then I'll leave you alone. So they're kind of selling their parent on the idea of giving them a cookie. So the point is, selling is kind of a natural part of us as human beings. But here's what people are afraid of. They're not afraid of the selling part. They're afraid of the rejection. They're also afraid of the judgment and of not feeling good enough. When someone says no to you, then you don't feel very good about that because no one likes to hear no when they're expecting a yes. One of the things about selling is that selling exposes your confidence. It exposes your belief in your own value, how you value you, what you think about your own abilities. And I have to tell you guys, if your identity isn't rooted in a certain level of confidence, then actually selling feels like you're kind of standing on, let's say, shaky ground. You get really, really nervous. But here's the truth about selling, and this may help you some. First of all, selling is not about convincing. And as I said earlier, it's not about manipulating people, which means it's not about pressuring people. It's also not about having to chase people down to get them to give you a yes or get them to purchase whatever it is you're selling. Here's what selling is. Selling is nothing more than helping someone make a better decision. You're helping them make a better decision to purchase something that they already desire to purchase. Something that they already figured out that, hey, you know what? I need this. So in that case, you're not pressuring. So when you kind of shift your identity from thinking that you're bothering people or that you're begging people for something, and you shift it to I'm serving people, then all of a sudden the fear, it starts to go away. It starts to disappear. You start to feel more confident because as human beings, we're built to serve, and we like to feel like we're making a difference. We like to feel like we're helping people. And so when you shift how you're looking at selling, then it feels a lot better. When I was in real estate, and even now in my business, periodically I'm selling something. The things that I offer in Power Up Nation, that I offer you or my customers or my clients or anyone, I feel confident and excited because I know I'm offering them something that's going to help them be more excited about their lives and achieve their goals and get to where it is they desire to be and build their magnificent life. And they're going to wake up and look in the mirror and they're going to feel better about themselves. So I feel good about what I'm doing. So I don't think of whatever I'm doing as a sales pitch. I think it's providing information to help people make a better decision that will get them to where they desire to be in their life a lot faster, a lot more smoother, and they'll be happier with themselves. Can you imagine what it feels like when you're thinking, oh my goodness, I am helping this person position themselves to get the things that they desire in their life. I am truly serving. So that doesn't make me afraid. And the same thing, think about whatever your respective businesses are. Now, as I said, this is a part of our Summer Success series because a part of your success is actually achieving the business goals that you've set for this year. And probably one of the best ways to achieve those goals is to make sure you're selling something to someone somewhere. Now, I've mentioned the whole identity shift and identity more than once. So let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about the identity shift that you want to make, and it's going to change everything for you. First of all, if you're afraid of selling, fear shows up when you think selling is all about you. And that's usually what makes people afraid, because they're thinking, I don't want to hear no, or they might not like me, or I don't like bothering people. So you're making it all about you. And that's when the fear starts to show up. Now, on the other hand, your confidence shows up when you realize that selling is about them. When I would sell a house to someone in real estate, nothing made me happier. And I felt so good that this person had found a home that they loved, a home that they could move into and relax with their family. And they were so super excited. As a matter of fact, throughout my real estate career, and even as the CEO of Power Up Nation, I often received gifts from my clients, because they are happy about the changes that they made in their life. They feel good about themselves, and they feel good about who they have evolved into. Those that I work with in Power Up Nation, and my clients that I worked with when I was in real estate, they felt good. They felt a great sense of accomplishment that they were now in a home. And it was a home that they loved, and they felt great that they were going to come home to a place where they could relax. So when you understand your prospect's needs and you're making it more about them, when you listen more than you talk, in other words, you're listening to what their desires are, what they are looking for, what they expect more than you talk, because sometimes people will spend a lot of time describing their service, describing what they have to offer, and they talk and talk and talk. And I've met a lot of people like that these days in business, and they're selling me on something. And at some point, not being rude, it just happens. I just kind of tune out in my head, because I'm thinking, all right, I'll wait until they get to the end, and then I'll tell them exactly what I'm looking for. But because I understand sales, it kind of bugs me a little bit, because I'm thinking, wow, they are more interested in making money off of me than realizing if they find out what I need and they're able to provide that, then and talk to me from that position, they're going to make the money anyway, but also they're going to not only get repeat business, but they'll get a new client who will probably send them referrals. So think about that. And so it's important that you listen more than you talk. When you ask questions instead of dumping information. And that's when, at that point, when you're asking questions and you're, instead of dumping information on them, because you want them to see how great you are or how great your product is, then you stop selling. And at that point, now you're guiding the customer or client, and you're sending them a message that I'm interested in helping you meet your needs, getting what you need. People don't buy because you're persuasive. They're annoyed when a person is persuasive. So I think the fear kicks in because we forget to make that identity shift that says, I'm here to serve. Okay. People will buy from you because they feel like you understand what they need, what they would like to have. So if selling terrifies you, then you want to ask yourself the question, do I truly understand the people I'm called to serve? Because when you do, then selling becomes a natural extension of your purpose. Now, all of a sudden, you're not afraid to sell. You're not afraid to approach people. You're not even afraid to make a call or follow up as you promised you would, or even if you didn't promise, you follow up because you are thinking more about the client. Now, you may say, you know what, Pat, that sounds really good, but I'm still afraid. Well, let's talk a little bit about what to do when fear actually shows up. So here are some actions that you can take today. You can do this now, and I think your confidence will go up. You'll feel more prepared, which the first one is prepare questions, not speeches. Questions create clarity. Clarity creates trust, because now I think you're more interested in me and not just making money off of me, which I have no problem paying a person, but I want to make sure I get what I need. Zig Ziglar was a great motivational speaker years ago, and he always said, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And so that's the object of the game when it comes to selling. And if, in order for you to do that, you have to think about them. One of the easiest ways to do that is to prepare questions. The other thing is stay away from negativity. If a client complains about the economy or politics, don't join in. Don't say a word. Just redirect them gently back to the business at hand. And you could say something like, I understand how you feel. I understand what you're saying. And then you immediately go back to, well, let's take a look at this bedroom. And I'm just using real estate as an example. Okay. Well, let's take a look at, or let's talk a little bit about how a program I have here that can help you reach your goals. See, now I'm not engaging into the negative talk, so stay away from negativity. The other thing is you want to practice, be prepared. And you do that by creating a compelling opening statement. Something simple, something that makes you come across as confident, and something that causes you to definitely immediately put the focus on them. Another one is put the prospect first, not your commission, not your pressure. Their viewpoint is the key to you making the sale. And one of the things, when I had my real estate office, I would tell my agents not to worry about their commission. If you take care of the customer, the money will come. And that is something I've always said. And it is something I still say today in my business. If you take care of the customer, the money's going to come. So figure out what their need is. And if you can fill that need, fill it. And of course, now, if you're brand new at sales and you say, you know what, yeah, this is a lot and I'm still a little bit afraid. Well, get yourself some scripts. Use scripts when you need them, especially for calls. And if you're going to leave a voicemail or you're going to reach out to a person over the phone, scripts, while some people don't like to use them because they think it makes them kind of robotic. Well, scripts don't make you robotic. They make you more consistent and you come across as a professional. And finally, you want to anticipate the objections. Okay, if you're afraid of hearing a no, then anticipate objections. So whatever your business is, make a list of the objections that you could possibly hear from your customers and anticipate them. Because when you know what's coming, then all of a sudden you're not afraid anymore. You feel more confident. So fear loses its power. I want you guys to keep in mind that selling is a skill and confidence is a decision. And of course, your identity is the foundation for all of this. And that identity has to be one that says, I'm a professional, I'm good at what I do, I'm highly skilled. And the only way you're going to feel like you're highly skilled is if you anticipate the objections, you practice them, and you know them when you hear them. And so at that point, you are no longer kind of fumbling around trying to figure out what comeback you need to say. So if you do this and you make what I just shared with you a common practice, you're going to find that you're going to get over the fear of selling. Okay, so you guys know that each time I provide you, almost every time, I kind of provide you with what the Bible says about these things, about selling and about different aspects of your life, about doing life with power and providing you with spiritual evidence that you are built by design to win. Some people think that salespeople are crooked, salespeople are bad, and I don't like selling. But you know what? It is an honorable profession. As a matter of fact, Proverbs 11:26 notes that a blessing is on the person who sells grain to the public rather than withholding it during a shortage. Now, of course, we're talking about grain. And basically, it's saying that, listen, if you're blessed, if you sell to the public what they need, okay, rather than trying to withhold something. And so put it out there, and don't be afraid. So my point is, I think if Proverbs can say, hey, it's okay to sell grain, I'm pretty sure it's okay to sell other things that will help people get to where they need to be or get what they need. The other thing, too, is that, of course, the Bible does talk about doing business. It talks about sales, actually, at different parts in the Bible. In other words, it talks about being honest and dealing honestly and fairly with people. And you know what? If you know that you're dealing honestly and fairly with people, then it's okay for you to sell something. It's okay for you to make a profit because you're providing something that people need. Now, with that being said, let's talk a little bit more about kind of your identity and the boldness that that you have inside you that you can let come out when it's time for you to sell. First of all, we were not created to shrink. So we spend so much time trying to fit in with other people and make other people happy. I can remember years ago when I was in real estate and I was brand new. And of course, I did need to make money, but I needed to make money to pay my bills. And I guess we all do, no matter what. But that was not my priority was to make the money so I could pay the bills. However, I knew that in order to get to that money, that if I treated that customer right, not only would I get a commission, but they would also send me referrals, and I would feel comfortable asking them if they knew anyone else who wanted to buy or sell a home. So the point that I'm making is I would do that. And realizing that I wasn't created to be small and I had made up my mind I was going to win at real estate, I spent no time hanging around the proverbial water cooler with people that just wanted to talk about, did you see the news last night, or gossip about something. I never participated in that. I never hung around those groups. And I'm not judging them. They can do whatever they want. But I made a decision that I was going to go all out and win. So keep that in mind when it comes to selling. If you have a fear of selling, remind yourself that, you know what? God didn't create me to be small. He didn't create me to shrink. And remind yourself that you were not created to hide your gifts. We all have some gifts that we can bring to the table, especially if you're in a business. Okay? So don't play small and don't be afraid. Learn your craft. Okay. Other thing I want to remind you of is that you were not created to fear, let's say, the very opportunities that God placed in front of you. If you were courageous enough to start that business, and if you have a product or service that you must sell in order to get profits through the door so that you can pay the people that work with you, the people that work for you, so that you can buy whatever you need to sustain the business, so that you can walk away with product or a profit so that you can sustain yourself. Okay. You know, a lot of times people will ask me for free advice and free. And sometimes I will ask them, I help people when I can, but hey, I'm in business. But a lot of times I ask them, I said, can I ask you a question? Especially people that are on a job. And I always ask them, what part of your paycheck do you give back to your boss because you want to do something free for them? Well, none. Well, then neither do I. Okay, I have to live just as you do. So think about that. And so don't shrink, don't cower down, don't be shy about going for what you deserve. Understand this, when it comes to selling, and if you're in the business that you have, let's say that's aligned with your gifts and talents. You've chosen this business. You're excited about this business and you know what it can do to help other people. Keep in mind that selling is the doorway that leads to the impact that you're meant to make on the lives of other people. So think about that. So when you kind of embrace that part of your identity, knowing that you're doing something that's going to help a lot of people, then selling becomes an act of obedience, not anxiety. At that point, you can't wait to do something that's going to help someone. I can't tell you the number of people that I helped in real estate. And it's interesting. Sometimes I was brand new. I was confronted with a brand new situation I'd never dealt with before. And in some cases, my broker, and this is before I got my own office, my broker would say, you know what, let me think about it. But you know what, divine intervention would kick in because I truly wanted to help that person. And I would work and get the answer. And sometimes I would just kind of follow the promptings and it would work out. We would all get it done. So I want you to keep that in mind. So with that being said, as we start to wrap up, here's the thing. If you have a little fear of selling, okay, that's okay. But listen to my podcast episode from yesterday, which I will put that in the show notes, where I talk about the fact that God didn't give us a spirit of fear. Now, that's not a judgmental thing. That's a scriptural thing. And the more you can learn about that, and I talked about the untapped power, or untapped part of us that we don't use, that would allow us to achieve more, to achieve with consistency. And to build that life that we're looking for and help a lot of people, which means we will be fulfilled at the same time. So if you have that fear of selling, it's okay. Just don't let that fear be the thing that stops you from moving forward in your business and operating within your calling. Sales is something that you can learn. Salespeople aren't born. And I know that people used to say that, oh, wow, he's a born salesman. Oh, she's a born saleswoman. No, salespeople are not born. It's a skill and you can learn it. Okay. And you can even learn to master it and you can thrive using it. Now, as we wrap up, I just want to let you guys know that because this is our Summer Success Series, I have provided a worksheet for you. Now, the beautiful part about completing this worksheet when it comes to the fear of selling or dealing with that fear is you're going to become more aware about your emotions and what you're thinking about and what you're feeling. And you're going to get some information or answer questions that will help you clearly understand your prospect and guide you through creating an opening statement so that when you connect with a prospect, you'll know how to respond. And there's some other information as well. I've given you a little example of objections and kind of how to overcome the objection. And I've done that by giving you some common objections that are used across the board. Usually depends no matter what the service is or product that you're selling. So hopefully this will help you to move forward with achieving your goals in your business. Take the time to download this sheet and complete it because, as I said, it creates an awareness. And when we're aware of kind of what's going on with us and what our next steps are, then our confidence goes up and it becomes a lot easier to sell. And before you know it, you will be beyond the fear of selling. Hey, in the meantime, do life with power, knowing that you are built by design to win.